All righty. So appreciate you guys being on this call. I am very excited for this class because it's a sort of a almost like a debate, I would think. Like it seems like there would be a definitive answer, but it doesn't seem like it based on a couple of the questions I've posted and surveys I posted. So I want to get deep into this because I want to provide the home buyer the best information as possible. And that means actually considering everyone's input and opinions. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Where's my screen here? I'm going to present. You guys see my screen, my presentation, I hope. Yes, hopefully. Sometimes I mess up because I have multiple monitors, whatever. Let me make sure here. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to reshare, and I'll make sure I share the right one. Okay. Hopefully you guys see that. Oops, present. All righty. So this is Larry, the mortgage guy, your mortgage insider. And today we're going to talk about who you should talk to first, the real estate agent or the loan officer. And I promise I will give you an honest opinion, and I believe it might not be what you think. No problem, Erica. There'll be a replay, and I will make sure that you get access to it. Okay. So quick introduction. I am Larry Lee. I'm a certified veteran mortgage advisor and branch manager at the Larry Lee team at Van Dyke Mortgage. I'm a loan officer for 6 years. I have a side hustle as a social media marketing coach and running my own agency, Robots LLC. The reason I bring that up is because I hope to use my social media abilities and efforts and time and energy to spread the word and educate as many people as possible, no matter who you are, if you're in the business or if you are a home buyer. I'm licensed in 11 states: Arizona, California, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. My mission is that I love the mortgage business, but I was fed up with the lack of education and information clients were provided during their application process. So I created a first-time homebuyer coaching class for mortgage clients that provides instant access to answers to questions and simple explanations to the mortgage process and how to qualify. I also provide one-on-one coaching for those who want it. So basically, what I'm saying is that I give people the opportunity and ability to get information without even having to talk to me or other loan officers or other real estate agents. I want them to be able to empower themselves without having to engage with what I would call a salesperson. Okay. Because again, they're getting fed bad information because they were talking to a salesperson who was just selling them and just trying to close them or trying to get them to work with them, but not really caring about educating them on the process. Whereas I want you to be educated before you talk to me. Okay. Unlike other loan officers, I made it my passion to coach first-time home buyers on the mortgage process. That makes all the difference of how I have helped hundreds of people get on the right path to home ownership, with many of them becoming homeowners. You remind me of many of my smart, successful, and savvy clients who are now homeowners because you are taking the right step on the home purchasing process, like they did. Meaning you're trying to educate yourself, you're trying to learn information about the home buying process. Right. The home buying process is very confusing to most people, but that is why I am here to simplify this process and make you 100%, make sure you're 100% prepared in the home buying process and to become ahead of the competition. And what I mean by that is just people out there competing for the same houses you are. They're making offers on the same houses you are. My job is to make you more empowered, more prepared, and stronger out there when you're making offers. And if that means underwriting you to the fullest extent, we call it TBD underwriting, where we actually can offer a commitment letter on the offer letter as well as the pre-approval. It can make you look stronger, it's as good as cash, and close faster. That's a little plug for me because my company and my branch provides that for our clients. Okay. My wife and my kids, namely Hunter and Bruce. You see Hunter on the left, Bruce is on the right with me. The reason why I bring them up is because they're both on the spectrum for autism. And my goal is to provide them ABA therapy because I was told by parents who I trust that it's a game changer in their children's growth and development. So I want to have enough resources to be able to provide them this therapy this year. And of course, my other why is for veterans and the, in general, of course, home buyers, the veterans for the most part. Okay. And this is a post I put on social media that got a lot of likes and comments. It explains my why. Okay. My father was living in Da Nang, Vietnam during the fall of Saigon. My mother lived in Saigon. My father left by helicopter, my mother by boat. It was US soldiers who helped them get in the helicopter and on that boat. They met in Hong Kong, China. If it wasn't for a US soldier, my parents may not have survived, met, and had me, and I wouldn't have what I have today. I might not even exist. Those US soldiers are veterans now. Thank you, vets. I owe you my life. And I truly do believe I owe a debt of gratitude to them. And, what I do for, of course, home buyers, but of course, my focus on veterans is to hopefully give back to them. All right. So I actually do a first time home buyer class that's pretty intense. I cover 3 different topics, and this is a part of it. And when I do those classes, it's very general. I don't really get deep into each detail. I just kind of want to provide as much information as possible. And of course, hope that anyone has questions will reach out to me. But these classes, the ones that you're a part of right now, is designed to do a deep dive on those particular topics or details. Okay. Before I get into that, disclaimer, I'm not trying to piss anyone off or make anybody feel stupid. I'm simply trying to provide transparency because most loan officers are doing a horrible job of telling you the truth. Also, any information I share is a general knowledge and I acquired through training and experience. Every situation is subject to a case-by-case basis, and exceptions are always possible, especially with different lenders and financial institutions and states. All right. So there's the class, top 10 questions, and I give honest answers. The question a lot of people ask me is, who do I need to talk to first? Loan officer or agent? And of course, I have my opinion. Okay. And I actually did a video. This is part of the video that I did on YouTube where I answered this question, and I'm going to attempt to play it, and hopefully you guys can see it and hear it. But if not, then of course I'll share it later. But I'm gonna share you what I actually said, and I thought it was a definitive answer. I thought it was honestly the correct answer. Is indisputable, it's inarguable, it's correct, it's accurate, because I'm thinking from my perspective as a loan officer. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, here's my channel. Atlas, you're asking, is this for only VA or everyone? This is actually an answer for everyone. I think this is a question that a lot of people ask. Who do I talk to first, a loan officer or agent? So I believe this applies to pretty much anybody. Okay, so here's my channel. Let me see here. Go to videos. Okay, right here. Do I talk to a loan officer or a real estate agent first? And again, hopefully you guys can hear this. If not, again, I'll tag it or I'll send it in the email so you guys can hear it. But I'll paraphrase it once I play it. Okay. I don't know if you can hear that. Okay, so I'm going to just, like I said, paraphrase it. It basically says, I believe it's a loan officer because we determine whether or not you qualify. Actually, I'm going to pause it right here. We determine whether or not you qualify, right? We provide you your maximum buying power, and we provide you the letters, because without a letter, you can't make an approval, right? You can tell a seller or a listing agent that you're pre-approved, but they're going to want a letter, right? So I'm the one who provides it. Okay. And I put good real estate agents normally won't show houses to people who are not pre-approved. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys would agree to this. Maybe you'll show one house, maybe two, just to kind of build rapport, but you're not going to show them 20 houses. It's not going to happen until they're pre-approved, right? So no matter what, that is required. The loan officer providing pre-approval is required in that case. They need to know how much you can afford to properly assist you on your home search, right? I mean, what kind of homes are you going to send them if you don't know how much they're pre-approved for, right? It happens a lot in my experience, where people are looking at 400, 500, $600,000 homes and they're qualified for 200, right? It does happen. And it kind of almost wastes the time of the real estate agent, and of course disappoints them because they're thinking about making a actual $400,000, $500,000 sale when they're actually going to make maybe $150,000 or $200,000 sale. They're not as enthusiastic. And good real estate agents know that most listing agents and sellers won't accept offers without a pre-approval letter. And this is just simply fact, especially in this market, right? In this market, back then, maybe pre-qualifications would be okay, meaning you got your credit pulled and it was kind of looked at and you have a letter. But now they're demanding actual pre-approvals and maybe even a verification of funds, right? So it gets deeper, especially in this market, right? I put the exception. However, if you have a real estate agent you already like, know, and trust, then they are the best person to ask for a loan officer referral so that you can avoid searching online. And that's actually a big deal. So you don't have to search online. Okay. But I want to emphasize that if you have a real estate agent, you already know, like, know, and trust. Okay. If you have a real estate agent, right, then they are the best person to ask for a loan officer because you already trust that person, obviously, right? You already like them, you already know them, maybe you're friends with them, whatever. Then yes, that is the best way to get a loan officer, or that is that is the first person you need to talk to, because they're going to guide you on who to talk to in terms of loan officer, which loan officer you should talk to, because otherwise you do an online search and you're subject to marketing and advertisement and basically a bunch of bullshit. Okay. So in this part right here where I put, I say, what is it? Real talk. Okay. I say in a really sarcastic way that most people do this ass backwards, right? They go to a real estate agent and they demand to look at houses and they want to make offers, or okay. One of the main reasons why I don't like people looking at houses before they're pre-approved, because they always find the dream house, right? This is the house we want. We definitely want this house, right? And now I'm getting a phone call at like 9 p.m. from either the client or the real estate agent, like begging for a pre-approved letter when I don't even have an application yet, right? Because they need to make an offer, right? And then by the time we're able to even get all the information we need to give an official pre-approval, that house is already gone, right? And it's almost like, whose fault is it, right? Well, it's the loan officer's fault because we didn't get a pre-approval. No, but that's a lot of people think. So again, people do the ass backwards. They want to go look at houses. They want to talk to a real estate agent. They want to look at every single house. They of course, if they're looking at a house, they're looking at their potential dream house. So what if they do fall in love with the house? Then now they are trying to get under contract, and maybe let's say they do get under contract, right? If they get under contract, we're already behind because we don't even have a pre-approval, and you're under contract. We already lost a couple of days on the contract, right? So again, a lot of people like to do this ass backwards, but whatever. It is what it is, right? And it's almost like, and I compare it to shoe shopping, right? When you go buy shoes, you don't just look at a pair of shoes and say, I want those shoes, right? No, you have to look at the size. And then you have to be like, well, do I fit this? I don't even know. I mean, and so you have to try it on. You have to try on your shoe size before you know what shoe to buy, right? That's the same thing as getting pre-approved. You have to know what fits you, right? You can't just look at a house and be like, you know what? I don't care the price. I want to buy it. Well, no. Does it fit you? Right. So you have to find out what size you are, and the only way you find is what size you are in terms of the pre-approval process. I mean, in terms of the ability to buy, is to get pre-approved. Okay. Now, before I go to my slide itself, I want to stop for some questions or comments or anything like that. Does anybody have anything? Again, this was my definitive answer. This is as the loan officer making a YouTube video or making a contention or making a post or making a class. This was my answer. You need to talk to the loan officer first. Okay. That is my I guess if we were doing a debate, that is my contention, right? Is that we need to make sure you're pre-approved first. So loan officer, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I actually want to add to that, right? I want to add, or I want to change whatever. But again, loan officer, because they provide the pre-approval. Real estate agents shouldn't be showing houses if you're not pre-approved, and most listing agents won't entertain any offers, won't take any offers seriously without a pre-approval. And the exception is if you have a real estate agent you already like, know, and trust, then they are the best person to ask, right? That is my definitive opinion. Okay, I have Shani. I think hopefully I'm saying your name right. Why do lenders give client approval? Why do lenders give a client a pre-approval for one amount and then turn around and say, "Oh yeah, you can probably push them to a higher pre-approval amount"? That's a great question, Shani. So, and hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Okay, there is there's a range, I would say, right? Because there's lots of variables that are involved in the number. Hold on one second. I'm on the phone. I'm working. I can't talk right now. Go to mom, please. Sorry, my son was calling me. And I didn't want him to think I was ignoring him because he would bust it anyways. So like I said, there's a range, right? And there's different variables. You have to think about HOA. You have to think about insurance. You have to think about property taxes, right? And whenever we create a number, right, we try to take those things into consideration. So if you were to purchase a $200,000 house, this is how much we think income tax, not income tax, property tax is going to be. This is how much we think interest is going to be. And maybe there's an HOA. So we kind of use all that to calculate the DTI, or debt to income ratio, which helps us determine the number, right? Now, we do want to have a little bit of room, a wiggle room, as we call it, because maybe you'll purchase a property or want to make an offer a property that has higher taxes, right? Or has higher HOA. I'll give you an example. I actually gave a pre-approval that I believe was maxed out, meaning it was the highest you can really go, right? It was the highest I think you should really be at, right? And a person, my client, found a property that was a lot less than what they're pre-approved for. When I say a lot less, I'm talking about like 10% less or 50% less. I'm not talking about like, hundreds of $1,000s less, whatever. And I was like, great, that's awesome. Yeah, let's go for it, make an offer. And the listing agent called me, and of course I was excited because my client found a house that she loves, and it's definitely within her price range, and she's been shopping forever. And the listing agent, was asking me about the client, and of course she's well qualified and everything like that. And we were excited. And then she goes, "Okay, well, I have one last question." I'm like, "What's that?" It's like, "Are they okay with the HOA?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, this HOA is higher than normal, and I didn't know this, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, how much is the HOA amount?" And it was like $300 a month or $400 a month. It was insane. Like, it wasn't like $50 a month or 25 or 75, maybe even 100. It was like 400. I was like, holy crap. So I was like, okay, well, let me do some math real quick and find out, and I'll let you know right away. And sure enough, when I plugged in that $400 extra a month for HOA, it made it so that she didn't qualify anymore. It basically turned the purchase price from, like, let's say 200,000 to like 250,000, right? So that's how much of a difference that $400 made, right? So that right there was, I wouldn't say a mistake on my part. I would say it was a unforeseen scenario where the HOA was more than the insurance and taxes or whatever. Actually, maybe not more than taxes, but it was a big chunk. So we try to consider ranges like that, right? But I maxed her out. If I didn't max her out, maybe she would have had a lower expectation in terms of purchase price, and maybe she would find a lower house. And if it still had the same HOA as this house that we're talking about, she might still be able to afford it. So there's just lots of things to consider. Now, we also have what we call a comfort zone, right? We tend to try to stick to like 40%, 45% DTI, or debt to income ratio. But in some cases, like in the HOA, I mean, not HOA, FHA, you can go up to 50%, 52%, maybe even 55%, which that's really bad if you're up that high, because I mean, you're almost like a hair away from being disqualified. Okay. So we also, Shani, so you understand, we try to not put the client in a dangerous position, right? So if we put them above 50%, that's considered the danger zone, right? That's considered like they're biting a little bit more than they can chew. They can afford it on paper, but they'll be struggling a little bit, right? So we try to provide them a situation that makes sense, and of course, a situation that gives them the most buying power. But at the same time, we're not like literally trying to push them over the edge where they might end up in a lot of danger. So we try to give I wouldn't call it a conservative, but a reasonable number. But if you say, okay, I have a $200,000 pre-approval, but I found a house that's 215,000. Can you make it work? And then I'll actually take a look at it, and then we'll get a little bit deeper. Plus, and this happens to some loan officers. Me, I do try to get the most accurate information as possible, but some loan officers will just do like a guess, right? And what I mean by that is, well, it's under 45%. That's good enough. Let's go just provide them for that. When in reality, if they really did the math, they could probably get more and still be safe, right? So to answer your question, it really depends on the lender. But I just give you my personal opinion. But some lenders, I do know for a fact, will sort of just round it up or round it down. It's like, they probably can afford 355,000, but let's just give them 325 just to be safe, right? And then you come back, can we get 335? Yeah, they can do 335, right? So that might be what's going on. Okay. And then you put at one point, should a lender complete a Kavers report? I had a client whose offer fell 3 days before closing because the lender pulled Kavers and determined the client owed $227,000. The client paid it full, and the lender turned around and stated they still cannot be approved for the loan. Okay, so the Kavers thing, that's a great question. And this is part of the pre-approval process, right? It really depends on the process. I normally don't pull a Kavers report when I'm pre-approving. Okay. Usually it's done by, in my situation, done by the processor. Okay. So I normally don't pull it, but we have gone to the point where we've been wanting to pull it earlier on. So I have a transaction coordinator who's basically a loan officer, but just not licensed. He is getting licensed though. He's been licensed before in the past. Okay. That's just a personal anecdote, but I am asking for them to pull Kavers report, especially if the client indicates that we may have to look at that, like they have student loans or they might owe money to the IRS or whatever. But yes, it has happened where I actually had a client under contract. We pulled Kavers and we found out that they had something, and we had to address it, and we couldn't address it fast enough in order to close on time. So we had to, renege or cancel the contract. But yes, it does happen, and it really depends. Again, I think the best way to answer it is if a loan officer really wanted to, they could probably get access to the Kavers search and do a Kavers search on every client, right? But I don't know all the ins and outs, but maybe it costs money. Maybe it's an access that only certain loan officers or only certain companies are willing to allow loan officers to have. I'm not sure, but I do know from my camp is whenever I have a client that tells me literally, yeah, I have some, student loans, I have this, I have that, I'll actually tell my transaction coordinator to make sure they do Kavers pull before pre-approving them, because we do want to make sure that doesn't come and bite us in the ass at the very end. So yes, it does happen. And unfortunately, there's not much you can do when you have a Kavers. We call it not having a clear Kavers. There's not much you can do about it when you're already under contract. It's best to take care of that before you start making offers, because it is a hard stop. Okay. So hopefully that makes answer your question. You asked if I work in every state. I'm in 11 states. Let me go back and see. I wrote it down. That's why I wrote it in my presentation. I read it. I'm in Arizona, California, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. But I do have a wife who's in the mortgage business, which I usually bring up in my presentation. She's licensed in a lot of different states as well. So if you're in a state that I'm not licensed in, there's a chance that she's licensed in that state. Okay. So I appreciate you asking that question. I remember someone did ask a question. Oh, no. Steve said, as he said, the agent. Okay, so I'm glad that he's bringing this up. And this is going to lead to my next point. I asked the question, of course, who do you talk to first? The real estate agent or the loan officer? And he says the agent. Our qualifying questions can help you do your job, while your qualifying questions don't help us as much. That's a funny answer. I like that though. While your qualifying questions don't help us as much, which is true, right? Us loan officers should stay in our lane and stay out of y'all's lane. I'm not going to try to ask them about neighborhoods and how many houses you want, or what's important to you in terms of your house. I don't care. Right. I'm not built to understand that part of the business. Right. Whereas, you guys can still ask the financial questions in general, and it will still be useful to us. Right. Like you're going to ask them, do you have a job? And they say no, then you already know Larry's going to be like, he's going to deny this guy because he doesn't have a job. Right. So yeah, it makes sense. Okay, cool. So this is the part of the presentation I'm very excited about. Right. Again, I gave you guys what I believe, and I'm going to share my screen. I guess I'm sharing the screen right now. I don't even know if I'm sharing. Share my screen right now. Again, I thought I gave a pretty definitive answer, right? You talk to the loan officer first, right? But I posted this class in a couple groups, and part of my marketing is I actually post the topic, right? Just to get people to maybe engage, and then I promote the class. And I'm going to show you what the results are. Right, I'm going to show you what the answers are, and I'm going to address them. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share on that one, and I'm going to share on the answers I found. Okay, so in this group, I put who you should talk to first, the real estate agent or loan officer. And Erica, right here, She's a realtor, it looks like. I think you should talk to the real estate agent first and ask their opinion for a lender, because typically the real estate agents know the lenders that can get the job done efficiently and effectively in a good price range. So Erica is saying, if I'm going to translate this correctly, she's saying that you should talk to a real estate agent first and then ask the real estate agent's opinion for which lender they should go with, because they know lenders and they know which lenders can get the job done. Okay. And I think that's a fair answer. I think that's a good answer. But what about the reverse, right? Wouldn't a lender also know which real estate agent can get the job done? Right. I mean, and again, not to pick on Erica, but I want to qualify her answer. Right? I want to make sure this answer is a strong answer that makes sense. And again, it makes sense, but then if you flip it around, it also makes sense. You should talk to the lender first, get pre-approved, and then the lender will probably know real estate agents that can get the job done effectively and efficiently, and maybe even specify what kind of real estate agent you should talk to depending on what you're trying to do. Maybe you're an investor, maybe you're looking for a jumbo, maybe you're just looking for a starter home, right? Those might require different types of agents, right? Again, I'm not trying to pick on her. I'm just trying to make sure that, the answer is qualified, right? Jennifer says loan officer, no reason, which that's okay. I mean, she's a real estate agent, obviously, so she has her opinion. Christopher, he looks like he's a broker, so he's a real estate agent. He says definitely an agent. Good agents know different lenders and know their qualifications and expenses. Not every lender can offer the same services. Knowing which lender may be best for any given client is a huge pro. Again, sort of the same thing as Erica said, right? Good agents, they know the different lenders and what they can do. Again, I ask, how do you know who's a good lender though? I mean, a good agent, right? Like if I don't know, if I'm Mr. Buyer, I'm on the interwebs, I'm trying to find who do I talk to for an agent and a loan officer, and someone tells me I need to talk to an agent, and this person says you need a good agent, right? How do I know who's a good agent, right? Like who helps me with that, you know? So again, not trying to pick on Christopher or Erica, but I want to qualify the answer, and I'm going to address these with my, again, personal opinion. Okay. Now this group is actually even more active, and there's a point to me reviewing all these answers. Okay. Because I want to kind of sort of give you guys some food for thought. Okay. Plant some seeds. Okay. Georgina, who is a real estate broker, she says realtor. Then they can educate you about the importance of shopping around for a lender. Okay. That makes sense. But right there, couldn't you find that on the internet? Right. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you should shop lenders. It doesn't require me to be a realtor to do that. Right. They give recommendations for questions to ask, provide a comparison sheet. The comp sheet is important. That makes sense. But question to ask, I do that. I do that on my YouTube, and I'm a loan officer. I'm not a realtor. Right. Explain the importance of using a local lender with a great reputation among real estate agents to make a prospect of accepting them offering more appealing. That actually is a good answer. So she's saying is the importance of using a local lender, meaning I guess someone that everyone knows with a great reputation among real estate agents to make the prospect of accepting the offers more appealing, which again makes sense. But how many loan officers do you know are so well known that every single time the offer is made with their name on it, the agent automatically knows that this is a good loan officer? It doesn't happen very often, right? I mean, how many, as a listing agent, if you guys are on this call, how many offers have you received from a loan officer that you recognized or you knew? It doesn't happen very often. Okay. So I think it really depends when it comes to that scenario. But that's a good answer, though. I really like that answer. Okay. Walquisha, hopefully I said Walquisha's name right. I don't know who she is, if she's a real estate agent or a loan officer. And again, there's a reason why I'm kind of finding out who is answering these questions, right? So your property 30. Okay, so she's a realtor. Okay. So she put loan officer, the customer has to be pre-qualified or pre-approved before they even go look in houses. Right. So as a, I guess, a listing agent, I think that's who she is. She's saying the loan officer. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. Usually it's realtor saying realtor and loan officer saying loan officer. I said loan officer, realtors are saying realtors, right? But she was kind of against the tide, right? Someone's putting a chat question. Let me see here. Okay, I'll address that after I finish this. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right, Shani or Shawnee. Maybe it's Shani. Henry, he said, I would 100% say realtor. I know I'm one now, but my answer was the same before getting my license. Here's why. Younger people are getting their feet tend to be ghosted by LOs when things are right? That means they're talking to the wrong loan officers, just so you know. Okay. I don't ghost people. Okay. Realtors added to the question tend to hold everyone accountable. Added to the equation tend to hold everyone accountable. That's true. They're like the quarterback. They're like the coach, right? If an LO goes my customer client, they also will lose all future business with me and others. That is true. That is actually a strong answer. I like that. I like the fact that he's saying that if you talk to a real estate agent and the real estate agent refers them to an LO and the LO decides to ghost the person, then the realtor will hold that LO accountable, right? That actually makes a lot of sense, right? Um, so that is really not even an answer of expertise or education. It's an answer on relationships. It's an answer on team dynamics, right? It's like if I'm a realtor and I refer you to a loan officer and that loan officer does a bad job, that's going to cost the loan officer. So that's why you want me to be the first person, because if you hire me to be your general contractor, and that's the way I look at real estate agents for the most part. They're the general contractor and I'm a subcontractor, right? As a loan officer. So they're the general contractor. You hire the general contractor and then they will assign who they think should be the subcontractor in this particular need, right? So that makes a lot of sense. I like that. When a person talks to a realtor first, they can be explained the steps so expectation can be met. Well, I'll say that a loan officer can do the same, right? So I don't know if that number two holds weight. Number three, you want an agent who has a working relationship, who has a working relationship with a LO. Main reason is communication. Buyers don't see it, but how many of us have had to wait and wait and wait for answers? It slows things down when communication breaks down and adds stress to the buyers. Okay. Again, I don't know why an agent guarantees that. And I don't know why you can't have an LO who actually makes sure there's communication, right? I mean, I do know LO has the reputation of doing that, but I'm pretty sure that there's some agents that have reputations of being bad at communicating as well. Okay. As an LO, I don't know if this is true, but wouldn't it bring you more business to have a bunch of quality relationship with realtors than to try and grab a fresh prospect? So this is a funny one. And I'm going to answer this later on to him. Actually, I'm going to answer right now, just real quickly. To answer your last question, it is always better for the LO to have direct client facing relationships. That way, the LO doesn't have to worry about the realtor bullying them, since it was their client that was referred to the LO. LOL. And I'm actually being honest right there. I'm saying the reason why a loan officer would want to be the first line of defense when it comes to the client versus the realtor referral. Of course, we love the realtor referrals, but that's a necessary evil. I'm friends with realtors because I want clients, not because I want to be friends with realtors. And again, I'm just being honest. I love you guys, but I'm not hanging out with you guys for my health. I'm hanging out with you guys because I need business, and you guys are a great source of business. That's the reason why I hang out with you guys. Okay, again, being honest. But if I could, I would get the clients myself, because then I wouldn't have to worry about you guys. I would depend on you guys. And if I have a client and I pre-approve the client and I give it to a real estate agent, and the real estate agent bullies me, I'm like, dude, that's my client that I'm giving you. I referred that client to you, right? So no, you can't bully me because that's my client, right? Because again, in that relationship, usually if a real estate agent refers a client to a loan officer, then the realtor has the power, and the realtor can be like I said, a bully towards the loan officer, right? And threaten them, hey, if you don't do a good job, I'm gonna take all the business away, which of course people are saying this, right? That scares us. So no, we don't want to be in that position, because that's a position of lack of power, right? And I don't want to be overpowering over a real estate agent. That's not how I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is I just don't want to be bullied. I'm not going to bully you, but I also don't want the opportunity to be bullied, right? So to answer his question, no, I don't. I'd rather talk to the client and be connected to the client directly than have the agent kind of hold that over me, right? Again, honest opinion, right? Ruby says the loan officer, and I can't tell who she is. I don't know if she's a loan officer, real estate agent. Um, let's see here. Let's do some social stalking, or so I call it social recon. We might not be able to see she's a secret agent. If she's an agent, if she's a loan officer, she's a secret loan officer. So I don't know. But she's a loan officer. You don't fill up your cart at Costco and then check to see if you have any money. Same thing applies for buying house, which again, that's the logic I put out, right? And maybe she's a loan officer, things like that, or maybe she's a real estate agent, things like that. Who knows? Frank says the realtor, a good realtor will help you map out the process for success. Okay. That's true, but I don't know why a real estate agent, I mean, a loan officer can't do that either. Of course, the home buying part is something that we don't know much about, but the realtor doesn't know much about the home qualifying part, which is what we provide. So in that case, I think we actually are partners. There's no person that has every piece of the map, right? So I don't know if I accept that answer. Okay, but I understand. And I think Frank is a realtor. Yep, broker associate EXP Realty. James says, yes, first step is to meet with the agent. Second, them get them pre-qualified if they aren't already. Have a great day. There's no why, but I'm assuming that he's a real estate agent, but there's no why. And that's okay. Not every single person will give a reason why. But I'm assuming he's a real estate agent. Yeah, realtor. Okay. And why do I assume that? Because he said realtor is the first person, or agent is the first person. I already looked at this person. She's a loan officer first. That way you have options. Using their preferred lender sometimes won't get you better rate. Yeah, I said it. Some agents won't even talk to you without being pre-approved. I'm an LONRE. Well, she's saying she's a loan officer and a real estate agent, but I think she's mostly a loan officer. Okay. But that's why she said that. Again, the theme is if you're a real estate agent, you're going to see real estate agent. If you're a loan officer, you're going to see loan officer, right? Shelly, she's a real estate agent. I know that for a fact. Real estate agent. I will get them to the lender. Okay. Why? Why is the real estate agent? Why should we talk to you first? That doesn't tell me, because a lender can get you to the lender, real estate agent, right? I can answer the same as that way. I can say lender, I will get them to the real estate agent, right? What's the difference there, right? Bill says real estate agent, let me explain the process and recommend lender for their situation. Okay. But maybe you don't know their situations as well as a loan officer does, because a loan officer actually sees their credit, sees their incomes, knows what they have in terms of funds. I mean, we actually know more about the client in terms of their financial situation than a real estate agent would. So who would actually be better at recommending what they should do, right? But again, not picking on Bill, just trying to play devil's advocate, basically. And of course the loan officer right here, I forgot to address this. She's a loan officer saying that you have options. Using preferred lenders sometimes will get you a better rate. Well, that's true, but that doesn't mean that you'll get a better rate if you use a lender you found yourself, right? Like just because you talk to me first, you never talk to a real estate agent, doesn't mean I'm gonna give a better rate than their preferred lender, right? In fact, that's happened to me before, where I had a client who came to me, I talked to them, and I offered them something, and they get referred to a real estate agent, and the real estate agent ends up having them go with another lender because they had a better situation. How do I know? How can I prove that to you? That you can probably ask any loan officer. Happens a lot of time with builders, right? A person will come to me, they'll find me on Google, whatever. I'll pre-approve them, pre-qualify them. They go out with a real estate agent that they choose, or maybe I referred them, and they end up wanting to build. And the builder's lender has a better situation because they're offering incentives that I can't offer on the house and everything like that. Happens all the time, right? So just because they found me doesn't mean that it's the best situation. Okay. Even though I still have an opinion on what's better when it comes to builder and lenders. Okay. Michael, and I think we're almost finished here. Yeah. Michael says reason to choose a loan officer before you choose a realtor. It will help you know how much you can spend even before you start looking for a home. A loan officer will know the best realtors in the area where you want to live. I actually agree with that. Because they aren't trying to sell you a particular home, you will get honest information about the difference between various parts of town. Again, he's kind of jabbing at the fact that a realtor might have ulterior motives or an agenda and might not be as honest because they want to move you to a certain neighborhood, whatever, right? I'm going to guess he's a loan officer. I don't know. We'll see. Because he's answering like a loan officer, right? Let's see here. Main profile. There's a little bit of lag there. Well, I'm gonna here it is. I can't tell from his profile. He might be a realtor, might be a loan officer. I don't know, right? Carol Chartier. Sorry if I said your name wrong, Carol. Realtor that can point to a good lender they work with, but need the finances straight before anything else, which is a fair answer. and I think she's a realtor because she's part of the Women's Council of Realtors, right? And it says real estate agent at Corcoran Dwellings. So yeah, she's definitely a real estate agent. I'm a realtor, Michelle says, and tell buyers the first step is to get pre-qualification. So I think that's her way of saying you should talk to the lender first. I don't know, right? And then this is me, then I'm directing you to the right lender to get you pre-approved. Okay, so she says, me, talk to me first, right? Which I'm assuming she's a realtor because she says me, and then I direct you to the lender. Again, why? Why you before lender, right? There's no point of qualifying there. There's no like, you should talk to me first, and then I'll send you the lender because where's the because, right? So a couple of things, and I'm going to stop for questions real quick, and then I'm going to tell you why I went through this exercise to show you the answers that other people give. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or whatever? Let's see. I'm going to Q&A, and I'm going to the chat. Oh, that's right. There was a question. Shani asked, what qualifying questions should an agent ask a buyer before regarding their ability to be pre-approved for a mortgage? Example, should we ask them how much they have set aside for down payment? Have they paid their taxes for the past 2 years, etc.? So I have a class for that. And actually, because you're asking this question, I'm going to try to remember to email you the replay for that class, but I'm going to answer the questions for you either way. Number one, first question you should ask is, have you been pre-approved or have you talked to a lender yet, right? If they said yes, okay, then I'm going to make the assumption. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. If they said yes and they said they were pre-approved, I'm going to make the assumption that the lender that they talked to knows what they're doing. So you really can cut your time in terms of asking them questions by getting that answer. Now, of course, the next question would be, who is it with, right? If they tell you Quicken Loans, actually, just any of the big box names, right? Quicken, Rocket, whatever, then you might still want a second opinion. But if they tell you with like, it sounds like a reputable mortgage company, then I probably would accept that pre-approval, right? Now, you can always offer to have them talk to your preferred lender if you want, or if you still ask qualifying questions if you want. But for the most part, you can just say, okay, well, great, you're pre-approved. No problem. Let's go and get started. If you do want a second opinion, I do have some lenders that I work with that are really good and they offer really good rates or whatever you want to say to them. And if they want to do that, that's cool. But I would skip everything else. So that's the first question I actually ask all my clients. And if they're talking to me, obviously there's a reason why they're talking to me, even though they're pre-approved already. Okay. And of course, the same things goes for them asking you, do you have any lenders that you know? And then you ask them, are you pre-approved? And they say yes. Then you might want to know why. Are they asking about other lenders? If they're pre-approved, maybe they're shopping for rates, right? Maybe they don't like their lender, right? Whatever. But it's worth it to find out. But the first question, that's the first question I asked. The second question is, okay, well, let's talk about, your work history. Do you have a job and how long you've been working there? If it's 2 years plus and it's like a regular job, great. If it's like, I just started last week and I've been unemployed for the last 20 years, it's not so great. If I'm unemployed, then definitely not great, right? So if I have a job, 2 years, great. If they're self-employed, how long they've been self-employed for? 2 years, great. I just started Uber last week, not so great. Okay. So 2 years, that's the rule of thumb. 2 years work history, whether it's self-employed or whether it's commission or whether it's a regular job. 2 years because we need consistency. And the only way to compare and create consistency is to have two to compare to. Year one, year two, is it consistent? So 2 years is the rule of thumb. Okay. Do you have funds set aside? Right. That's an easy question to ask. Do you have funds set aside for the home buying process, whether it's down payment, closing costs, earnest money, appraisals? Do you have anything set aside? And they tell you, no, I got nothing, then you're going to have trouble, right? Even if we have down payment assistance programs, which we do, it doesn't mean that they're ready to go, right? But they have something set aside. They have I have a couple of thousand, I have 10,000, I have a 401k with 50,000. Those answers are good, okay? Especially if they acted like they were prepared. Yeah, I definitely have something set aside. I have about 10,000 set aside, but I'm adding more. Then you're working with someone who's serious, right? But if someone goes, yeah, I just started, I don't have anything, we're hoping for down payment assistance, they're not ready. In my opinion, they're not ready to buy a house, and they might waste a lot of your time. But I'm willing to talk to them, right? If you think about referring them to me or referring to a lender, I want to talk to them, because if money, meaning funds, is the only thing stopping them from being pre-approved, I'm excited about that, because at least I can tell them what they need to do to get to the point where they can buy, right? Or maybe we look for other options, like maybe a gift, or maybe down payment assistance can cover everything they need, right? So if funds is the only thing stopping them, then it's worth talking to them. Okay. But if they're like, I have no money, I have no job, and my credit sucks, then you already know what the lender is going to say to you whenever you refer them to the lender. Okay. The third question I ask is what does your credit look like? Again, you're not really supposed to get too into it, but you can always ask, do you know what your credit scores is? Possibly, is it a 500, 600, 700, 800? Anything 600 above should be noted. Anything below 500 probably should be avoided. I don't turn them down. I don't tell them no. And as an agent, you probably shouldn't do that either. I don't even think that's legal, but just notate that, that's what you're working with. And then also tell them, okay, well, most loan programs, from my understanding, starts at about a 600 credit score. I actually start at 580. Okay. I starts with a 600 credit score. So I can send you to a lender and have them talk to you, but I don't know what we can do with that situation. I don't know, because it's not my expertise. The lender would know more. And if you need to send them to a lender or send them to me just to help give them a little bit of facts and reality, I'm all about that, right? Because my goal is to educate clients, and most clients are fed bad information. Just like a lot of these people, like Henry said, they get ghosted, right? When they're dealing with when a loan officer is dealing with someone who can't qualify, they sort of ghost a person, right? That's a typical situation with loan officers, and I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to cure that. I don't want to be that loan officer, and I don't want people to think of loan officers that way. But that's why I'm trying to do this proactively and preemptively. I'm trying to provide you content information before you even apply, so you know what to expect, right? So hopefully that answers your question, Shani. And I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. So I'm going to move on to the response to what we just saw in terms of all the answers, right? And this is actually it wasn't planned, meaning I wasn't thinking. Hold on one second. Yeah, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it. Looks like they bought me food. Cool. I don't even know you can see me. So I'm going to lower your hand, Shani. I'm gonna allow you to talk. Okay, cool. So again, we just before I answer Shani's question, I went through Facebook post where people gave their opinion as to how or what you should do when it comes to who you should talk to first, the loan officer or the real estate agent, right? And I want you to recognize the common theme. And again, this is something that I decided to change on my presentation literally this morning. Okay. So I'm actually going to edit my presentation now. Okay. And I'm going to show you how I'm editing it. Right. So I think the truth of the matter is, hold on one second. I am in the middle of a call. Can you please tell mom I'm in the middle of a call, please? Please, thank you. She should know that. Okay, cool. So first thing I want to put down is, depending on who you ask, you may get a different answer. Right? I think that's important, right? I think that's something that we have to point out. I think that's something that's worth noting, right? So if you talk to a lender, you might have a lender that tells you, well, you got to talk to a lender first. Of course. Why not? Right? I mean, how do you know what to shop for? Right? That should be obvious. Right? But you talk to a real estate agent, it's like, oh, well, you got to the real estate agent because we're the ones who know which lenders are good. We're the ones who know which lenders have what programs. We're going to navigate the process for you. We're going to coach you. We're going to hold the lender accountable. Again, that makes a lot of sense. But at this point, who should you talk to first? Well, depending on who you ask, you may get a different answer. I think that's important to notate that. So what does that mean for the buyer? You got to be careful who you talk to, right? And this is the point of my class. For Homebuyer Secret, if you go to my YouTube channel, I literally say, my goal is to give you information from an honest opinion, honest information, without having to engage with a salesperson like myself. And I actually I'm going to give you information that real estate agents and loan officers may not want you to hear, right? I want to give the client power, right? And part of that power is not getting fed bullshit answers because they're talking to a salesperson, right? Because if you look at the answers that we look through, each person, for the most part, said them. Who should you talk to first? Me. You should talk to me first, right? Because I'm the real estate agent, and real estate agents know better. Me, I'm the loan officer, so I know better, right? Depending who you talk to, you're gonna get different answers, and it's because they're all salespeople, right? So I'm gonna put that out. Because they are all salespeople. Again, I'm giving honest answers to my first time home buyer class deep dive. Okay. So they're all salespeople. That's number one, right? Number two, if you really think about it, right? No one really asked, or no one really responded. What do you need? Right? Like, we have to understand, as salespeople, as service providers, if we're going to answer a question, we have to know the situation. The situation is what the client's looking for, what are their goals. So the next one is, depends on your goals, intentions, and situation, right? Think about it. Let's say you have a person who's a cash buyer. Well, of course, they don't need to talk to a loan officer. They're a cash buyer. But I will add that sometimes a cash buyer might actually benefit from talking to a loan officer, because sometimes being able to purchase with a mortgage, which is very cheap money when you think about it, and holding that cash instead of putting it into a home and holding it for other investors might actually be a better or smarter financial situation or financial decision, right? So talking to a loan officer, even if you're a cash buyer, might actually make sense. But in general, if you're a cash buyer, you don't need to talk to a loan officer, right? So in that case, people who say loan officer are wrong, right? Who should I talk to first? Real estate loan officer. Well, I don't need a loan officer, right? So you have to tailor it to the person's situation, right? So let's say a person has shitty credit. They have no money. They don't even know if they qualify based on their job. They don't know anything. Do they really need to talk to a real estate agent first or a loan officer first? Let's think about it, guys. Right? Like, first thing they talk to you about when they talk to a real estate agent. I don't know if my credit qualifies. Well, what's your credit? I don't know. What is the real estate agent going to do with that? Right? They're going to be like, talk to a loan officer. Right? So in reality, you're the middleman just to refer them to what they should have done in the first place, which is talk to a loan officer. Right? So it really depends on your goals, your intention, your situation. But no one addressed that. Nobody in my post addressed the fact that we don't know someone should have said, not enough information. I need to know more. That's the proper answer to this question. Right? But no one said that, because we're all salespeople. And we automatically think about ourselves. We automatically think about what we think is the best for the client. But of course, it always involves ourselves. And I even made the mistake. In my video, I talked about that. You should talk to the loan officer first, right? But in reality, it depends on the situation. So my answer should have been, who do you talk to first? Real estate agent, loan officer? I don't know. What's your situation? It depends on who you are, what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, I don't have an answer for you. Now, if you are quote unquote a typical buyer, right, then I still contend that you need to talk to a loan officer first. Right? It's not about power. It's not about dynamics. It's not about the fact that, like I told Henry, how he said, wouldn't you want the real estate agent to talk to them first so they can refer you business? No, I don't want the real estate agent referring me business, because then the real estate agent can bully me. No, I don't like that situation. I'd rather be in control. But that's my honest opinion about the dynamics. But my answer is not because of that. My answer is not because I don't want to be bullied by real estate agents. My answer is because I truly believe that you can't do shit until you know how much you can afford. Honestly, right? So I stick to that in a general answer when it comes to who you're talking about, but it really depends on the person, right? Let's say this person hates salespeople. This person doesn't want to pay commission. They don't want to do anything. They want to do as cheap as possible, right? Do you really want to talk to a person like that? Do you give, do you do 1% commissions? How much are your commission to give me? I actually have clients who literally first thing they say is, do you know any real estate agents that will give me their commission? Right? Like, they literally say that. Like, they go, Larry, I want to apply for a mortgage, and I also want recommendation for real estate agents who are willing to give me their commission. Do you think I am excited about referring that person to any agents? No. Right? And do you really want to talk to a person that comes at you like that? Hey, Mr. Realtor, I found your information. You're like the best. Hold on one second. I got a call coming. I got to decline it. You're like the best real estate agent that I found online, but I plan to take your commission. I plan to make a sale where or structure the contract so I get all your commission. Are you ready to work with me? You're not going to be excited about that person, right? So in reality, that is a buyer that shouldn't even engage with you. They should talk to a loan officer because you can't really buy a house if you don't have cash without a loan officer. So you need a loan officer no matter what, unless you're paying cash. But you can actually still buy without a real estate agent, especially if you intend to make it as cheap as possible and squeeze every penny, yada, 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 right? So again, it depends on your goals, your situation, your intention. Someone's putting a chat. Let me look at this way. Why is it hard for traveling nurses to get pre-approved for a mortgage? I will address that later, but I'm gonna tell you real quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. It really depends, I guess, on the situation, but I've pre-approved many traveling nurses. So I guess the best answer is it depends on their situation. Maybe they don't have a good record of their income. Okay. So yeah, but I do want to address that a little bit deeper. But again, I don't want to veer away from what the focus on right now, which is the answering this question, right? So again, I think it depends on your goals, your intention, situation. Okay. The next I guess thing I want to point out or bring up is who are you, or what is the most important thing to you, right? Not just your goal, intention, situation. What's the most important thing, right? Are you looking for rates? Are you looking for the smoothest process possible? Are you looking to be handheld? You know, are you looking for the full VIP experience, right? It really depends, right? So in reality, if you're a friend, right, and I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not a loan officer, you're a friend, and you asked me who should I talk to first, what I would actually tell you is, well, you should ask every person that you know who bought a house what their opinion is, right? I think that's what you should do, right? So, and of course, the reason I tell you to ask your friends because there's a strong chance that you and your friends are similar, right? There's a strong chance that you and your friends might enjoy the same kind of treatment, the same kind of situation. You might be straight to the point. Let's get it done. I don't care. I don't need fluff. I don't need service. I just want it done as fast as possible, as quick as possible. And you might have friends like that, and they might have worked with someone who provided that kind of service, and they might be the best people to recommend the lender or the agent. You see what I'm saying? So in reality, I believe the first person you should talk to is your friends who have bought a house and ask their opinion. I'm trying to make this presentation in front of you guys, but maybe it's not going to work out. Yeah, maybe I can do an okay job. So in conclusion, I think that this is a bad question to ask salespeople. I think it's a bad question to ask new real estate agents and loan officers because we're going to fight over it. We're going to evaluate ourselves higher than the opposite, right? Which is, I guess that's good that we think that way, because it'd be really bad if I looked at myself as not that valuable. And I'm like, well, don't talk to me first because I'm a loser. Talk to the agent first, right? That would be bad if we thought that way, right? So it's better to think the opposite, which is like, well, I'm more valuable. I'm the most valuable. So you should talk to me first. That's okay. I think it's okay that people think that way and talk that way. But I do think that it's biased. I do think that it's driven by a lack of having a full circle 360 point of view, right? We're not thinking about the whole process. We're thinking about ourselves, right? And that's dangerous when you're consulting someone who's actually about to make one of the biggest decisions of their lives. We do it all the time though, right? That's just how the business works. I mean, again, I asked the question in a group of like $50,000-$60,000 real estate agent. Yeah, 50 to 60,000 real estate agents, and this is their answers. Loan officers said loan officers, and real estate agents said real estate agents for the most part. Now, there were some real estate agents, it seemed like, who said loan officer, right? In fact, I saw more real estate agents say that than the opposite, like loan officers saying real estate agent, right? I don't know if that's good or not, but I'm just letting you know that some agents did agree with loan officers, where loan officers did not agree with any agents, but of course there's more agents in the group, right? But I believe the first person you talk to is not really a real estate agent loan officer. I think it should be your friends who have bought a house and ask for their opinion and recommendation. Okay. And again, so it's in conclusion, right? And I was getting to this. The way I would actually put this is the only way to know the answer is to know yourself as a buyer and do your research. And when I say research, I'm talking about talking to friends, family, Googling, and this is something that's important to me that I want to bring up, that I want to emphasize, that I would consider sort of an exception. Okay. And this might be the only exception. And I thought about this, and I don't even know if you guys would agree with it or not. But I think if you do not have a real estate agent that you love, know, and trust, and you are buying from out of state, and you don't know where you want to live, you don't know what area you want to be in, you don't know anything. Because I mean, if I'm moving from Texas to California, I don't know shit about California. Just like people from California moving to Texas, they don't know shit about Texas, right? If I don't know, right, then really the first person you should talk to is a lender. And I'll tell you why. Not because I think we're smarter or better or more important, is because a lender can lend anywhere in the state. A lender is not specific to a location or an area. A lender can cover the entire state. So if a person from California wants to move to Texas and they don't know where, they can still talk to me, get pre-approved, and still have useful information. Whereas if they talk to a real estate agent in Houston and they end up buying in Dallas, that Houston agent, for the most part, is useless. They can refer a Dallas agent, but that's about as much as they can do, unless they know Dallas as well. But if they don't know anything about Dallas, they're useless. So they basically spun the wheels talking to that real estate agent, and the real estate agent kind of felt like they wasted their time because they're talking to someone who didn't buy in the neighborhood that they're selling it, right? Of course, you can be the agent that tries to make a sale. That if you live in Houston and you try to make a sale in Dallas, you can be the agent. But for the most part, we know that's not the best service provided to that particular client, right? We know that, right? You should have a local expert focusing on helping that agent with the area that they're an expert at, which leads me to my second point, right? But again, my first point is, if you're moving from another state or you don't know where in the state you're going to move, lender is the first person to talk to, because a lender can approve you for any property in the state, right? That's just a logistical purpose or reason why a loan officer should be first. But if you know where you want to move, if you know the exact area, location, maybe neighborhood, then I believe the real estate agent should be the first person you talk to. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a particular neighborhood that you know for sure that you want to move to. That's the neighborhood you want the schools. You already have friends in that neighborhood, whatever, right? For whatever reason, that's the area, that's the zip code, that's the exact school district you want to be in. Then you want to talk to the real estate agent, and I would implore you to research and try to find out which is the go-to agent for that area. Right? Which agent is the mayor of that town or that area? Which agent is the absolute authority in that neighborhood? Right? And that will probably be the first person you should talk to, because then that person for sure, if they are a successful agent, right, that person for sure will have good referral partners that are lenders that can definitely help you. And of course, having a working relationship as an agent and a loan officer makes for a smoother process. Okay. So I think the answer, or I would say the exception in this entire conversation is, if you're moving from out of state and you don't know anything, right, and you don't know where, then you should talk to lender first. If you don't have a specific area in the state to move to, because lender can approve anywhere in the state. And I'm running out of room here. I'm gonna just type it out. Realtor first if you know exactly what location, neighborhood, zip code, or town you want to move to, and search and find the best one. because they will most likely have strong lender relationships they can refer you to. And I'm hoping everyone on this call and everyone watches this video agrees that I think this is a an agreeable contention or point that I'm making, right? I think that's fair, right? What I'm saying. Now, the final thing I want to bring up about this particular topic is it also depends on it also depends on what you're doing. Are you selling or are you buying, right? Some people want to sell FSBO for sell by owner, right? Which I highly recommend against. Okay, I don't think it's a smart idea. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's unsafe to invite people to your house without having some sort of real estate agent involved. I think that paperwork can be too complex, right? I've done deals where it's a FSBO for sale by owner, or it's a person buying without agent. It's a nightmare. They try to ask me questions that they should be asking real estate agents, and I'm not a real estate agent, and I refuse to answer those questions, and it makes my life harder. Those deals are not my favorite. Okay, so if you are that kind of person that wants to try to do a transaction without a real estate agent, especially if you're selling, again, I highly recommend it. I recommend against it, but in that case, then of course you need to talk to a loan officer, because I'm going to tell you this before you even list your house for sale, because if you don't qualify to buy another house and you sell your house, you're screwed. And it's happening a lot. I've seen it where people, they have their house for sale and they drag their feet on getting pre-approved, and the house is already under contract because the market's hot, and they find out that they're not qualified to buy a house, right? And now they're screwed. They're stuck. Like they're under contract for the sale of their home that they live in, and they can't buy another house, so they're going to end up being homeless, right? So in that case, if you're at FSBO or for sale by owner, you need to talk to the lender immediately. Okay. If you are trying to buy a house with an agent, again, I highly recommend against it. I think it's stupid. There's paperwork and stuff that you're not going to be able to handle and everything. But if you are that person, then yeah, obviously you're not going to talk to a real estate agent because you're trying to avoid that. Talk to a lender first. But a good lender would actually try to convince them that they should go to a real estate agent and hopefully recommend someone. So in that case, I think that's something that a lender would be a ally or a partner in terms of to real estate agents, because if someone does try to buy a house without a real estate agent and the lender sort of doesn't, I mean, we can't bully them, we can't force them to, but we can try to sell to them why it's good to use a real estate agent, which I always try to do, right? Especially when they ask me questions that I don't answer, I don't want to answer it. But yeah, in that case, having a loan officer that will be a partner that can refer you deals would be a good thing. So you do want the loan officer to be the first person they talk to, because obviously they don't talk to an agent anyways. Okay. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Let's see if there's any questions here. Okay, no. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this slide here. And this is from an older class, and there's no questions, so I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we can kind of come to an agreement of some sorts. Hopefully, we can at least agree that our comments and our answers are fair. And the general answer would be, it depends, right? It depends on who you ask, and it depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, what's going on, right? Because again, you talk to a real estate agent, the real estate agent might actually tell you got to talk to a real estate agent. You talk to a lender, the lender might actually tell you got to talk to a loan officer, right? So, or a lender, right? So it's almost like it depends on who you ask. And usually when it comes to salespeople, they're going to sell themselves first, obviously. But it also depends on who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, what your situation is. Sometimes the real estate agent is the best person to talk to first, and sometimes it's a loan officer that's the best person to talk to first. Again, it depends. And I think that's the actual answer to the question, who you should talk to first, the real estate agent or loan officer. It really depends on your situation. right? So again, if you have any questions, you can always give me a call, text me, email me anytime you want, 832-606-2193. My email's lle@vandykmortgage.com. That's VANDYKMORTGAGE.com. You can always Google me, Larry the Mortgage Guy, or Larry Lee, or Larry Lee Lender. You'll probably find me. Or you can always go to my website, larrylee.com, LARRYLE.com. Either way, I really appreciate you guys being on this call, and I will see you guys later on. This is Larry, the Mortgage Guy, your mortgage insider. I'm out.